And it's the Karl DeMasi Sports Report. It's Wednesday Night Live with the coach, the AD, Chad Griffin. And as you can see, our guest, the Tormenta Football Club owner in Statesboro, Darren Van Tassel. Well, it's a Wednesday night. Got to say once again, we got to thank Coach's Corner. Coach's Corner has their new sports network. We're part of it. And once again, Specialty Sports, we're presenting this show every Wednesday night. Good evening, guys. How's it going?
Great, man. Excited to be here again.
Thanks for having me. And I got a quick shout out. One of my favorite places in Savannah is Coach's Corner. And I love the folks over at Specialty Sports too. So I'm honored to be on the show.
Yeah, well, I've been doing radio for 10 years, and for the COVID virus, I got laid off from the radio station. So I said, I'm not going to stop. So I had to find a place to do the internet show. And John Henderson over at Coach's Corner said, yes, let's do it. And I said, well, you already got a NASCAR show. Let's bring my show on. We'll have the Coach's Corner Sports Network. And then, of course, Sierra Thomas loves the idea, and she loves how we do this every Wednesday night. And she said, well, Specialty Sports would like to present it. So that's how it's worked out. And it's been going on, about 7 weeks now, and it's the Coach AD. So we're just having a lot of fun. Two guys that love local sports and sports fanatics, and we go from there.
I love it. And it definitely ain't over till it's over if we're doing this in a COVID environment, right? I love that.
Right.
It ain't over till it's over. Good old Yogi Berra, you know what I mean? And you're a baseball guy, which I'm going to start out, okay? Darren Van Tassel, owner of the Tormenta Football Club, Georgia Southern graduate, Georgia Southern baseball player. Mm-hmm. I mean, outstanding baseball career, played with the great Coach Stallings, came back and coached there. How did you wind up in the soccer realm of sports? You don't even play soccer.
No, I don't. In fact, I'm not good at it at all. Well, thanks for having me, guys. Actually, Jack Stallings, my hero in life for sure. Skip was one of the founders of the International Baseball Federation. So, and really in the beginning of 1989, I started traveling the world, working with about 44 different national teams, clubs, coaching and developing the game of baseball. And by 1996, I was an Olympic coach in Atlanta. And then by 2004 and 2008, I ran the baseball side of things for the International Baseball Federation in Athens and Beijing. And listen, sport is one of those great global languages. It is a way we identify ourselves. We create communities and build bridges. And it's one of the reasons why we have fans. We're passionate about the stuff, but when things aren't going well, it can burn your house down too. But it's a wonderful identifier for schools and families and nations, cities. Here's what we learned during that process was a couple things. One, easily, hands down, the most popular sport in the world is soccer. And as I was watching it grow in the U.S. and seeing soccer become the most popular, fastest growing sport in the U.S., you add those to an existing business that I had. I was a firm believer that South Georgia, in my case, Statesboro, was ready to be a professional sports city. And you mirror those things together with the growth of pro soccer in the United States. When we created and founded Tormenta FC just 5 years ago, grew it to a professional franchise. And here we are now getting ready it started delayed season. We announced Friday that we're back on the pitch. July 18th, we've got a stadium underway. And my goodness, the first pro sports team to play in Georgia looks like it's going to be Tormenta FC on July 18th. In a nutshell, Carl, that's kind of where we are.
And that's a great thing. Like you said, you're going to be the first sports, professional franchise to get back to playing in the state of Georgia. And I want to go back to 5 years ago when Tormenta came to existence. Talk about how Tormenta came to existence and really what's made the growth. It seems like you guys have just been a truly grassroots program. And you didn't start here and kind of work opposite. You started here and worked up. So talk about the grassroots growth of Tormenta and how that came to existence.
I said that I think sport is one of the great global languages, and it's how you build communities. Doing the things that I did at universities, pro levels in baseball, and certainly at the Olympics, I learned a lot of lessons, learned a lot of things about what not to do too. But I think just because you're in a smaller area doesn't mean that you're less sophisticated. And our part of Georgia is a little bit smaller than other parts. And I think creating those experiences is what people love about about sports. So it starts at the community level. You have to be surrounded by people that know what they're doing. It starts with getting players that are going to have a buy-in who get this point right that I'm about to tell you. You can't ask the community to be part of what we're doing if we don't make ourselves part of the community. And that had to be not just a statement, it had to be the culture of what we were doing. That's how you build a program. You do it, it's really no different than the things we build in high schools or middle schools or colleges. That recipe works for a reason. And just because guys are getting paid doesn't mean it's any less important. We chose the name Tormenta because we wanted to pay homage to the origins of it being outside the United States. It's just the Spanish word for storm. FC being football club, is Chad, you know, being a soccer guy yourself, but also paying homage to those things. And, you know, and our crest is the ibis, which in the animal world is known for its bravery. It's the last animal to retreat from a storm and the first to reappear. If you're going to have the audacity to play soccer and football crazy part of Georgia, then you better stay out in the rain a little bit longer and to get it done. So we listen. I tell people we're really not in the sports business. We're in the experience business. We're in the memory making business. Sports our vehicle for it. You got to change lives. We're not going to solve the big problems of the world, but what we can do is create community. And it starts in Statesboro. It bleeds into Savannah. It's got to be part of Richmond Hill. It's got to be part of Hilton Head and Bluffton because that's where our hometowns are. Listen, I-16 and I-95 are just driveways into our neighborhoods. And our footprint has got to be bigger because we're smaller. I mean, one of the things I'm really, really proud of is that when you look at where pro soccer is in just the USL, not to mention MLS, it's in Calgary and Toronto, it's in Charleston, it's in Atlanta, it's in Washington, New York, Dallas, San Francisco, Sacramento, St. Louis, it's in Statesboro and Savannah, Georgia.
I mean, it's unbelievable. And
that's the only place Statesboro's on that list, I can tell you that.
And just looking through the information I tried to gather before I came on here tonight, you have a USL League 1 and there's a USL League 2. What's the difference?
So in the world, so FIFA, here's a little quick primer. So every sport has its own international federation. Most of us know FIFA. I told you about the International Baseball Federation. There's international basketball, international track and field. They hold world championships all the time. Every 4 years they get together and hold their world championships at the same place in the same time. And that's what the Olympics are. One of the things that FIFA does when it's not an Olympic year, though, is oversee and determine what are the 4 levels of professional soccer in every country. The first division we know is MLS in this country. U.S. Soccer decides these things. The second division we call the USL Championship, Man United to Charleston Battery. The third division is USL League 1, which Tormenta plays in. The fourth division is USL League 2. In every other country in the world, the fourth division is also a professional division. It's kind of the difference between single A and double A in baseball. But in the United States, we have to keep it amateur because of the NCAA. As you guys know, no other universities in the world are playing sports like we do in the U.S. And so in order to maintain that amateur status, it does have to stay there. So if you play with any former pros, then they have to give up their pro status in which to do it. But for us, it's really our proving ground. And so for League 2, those become the future League 1 players. We have a USL Academy that sits below that. And so whether they're 2 all the way up to 19-year-olds, those are our future League 2 and future pro players in there. Can you imagine if the New York Yankees had a system that went all the way down to 2-year-olds? Well, that is the culture of soccer around the world. It's sort of new to the U.S., but that's an important part of how we're doing. Again, I think it's how you grow communities and you get buy-in. And listen, not everybody's going to grow up to be an elite soccer player. I think most of our people in our academies just want to play soccer. We need more people playing the game, but that's really part of what's been driving us.
Well, Darren, one of my questions will be in talking about that development area from 2-year-olds up. A lot of professional teams, just take Manchester United or whoever, they start at the youth level and those kids move up. And there's a lot of scouting involved. How are you guys? Talk about your developmental from those kids that are 2 and how they can progress through your system up through US1 if they want to, and what that looks like for a young kid starting out.
Well, thanks for the question. From 2 to 6, it's just let's have fun. Let's put a soccer ball in the room and do all kinds of things, and it just happens to have a soccer ball. From 6 to 10, we're really moving into recreational sort of places, up to 12 too. But that's where those skill sets are there. So if the elite players is going to emerge, that's an important proving ground, just like all sports are. But by the time you're 13, we can really start to move into the elite level. And you're on the elite track, or if you're just on the track to be the best middle school and high school player, who can also be those great elite players. There's no reason you can't be doing both. But it is a different level of commitment when you get there. We also have programs for people that just want to keep playing right now. And then from that area, you can move into League 2 and League 1. So, right now, Chad, we've got on our pro side, we've got 3 of our academy players who are rostered on our professional team. They are in-house. They live here with us. We made it so that they could still go to school and they could even play on their high school team if they wanted to. But the USL and FIFA and the NCAA allow us to bring in those 3 players while still in high school. If they're in our academy and they don't lose their amateur status, they can still be pro players. On our League 2 side, we had up to 5 that were going to play there this summer. Obviously, COVID gave us all a different season in League 2. While League 2 was effectively canceled, League 1 was just suspended. And as we said earlier, it'll start on July 18th. We're going to play a 20-game season all the way until the end of October. But it's super important, I think, for folks to see people that look like them, that they know, who are making that progression. And we've got a way to do it. We're going to cover those costs for us if you're good enough to play at those levels. It gives our elite players to aspire, but it also gives our whole entire academy a team that they are a part of. And of course, that's how we're going to grow fans. And we want to be a part of it. As you know, Coach, we've played in Savannah. We want to keep doing that with our League 2 side. Professionally, we could only play friendlies in there. We couldn't play a real regular season game because of the standards that are there, which is why we're building our own soccer-specific 5,000-seat stadium right here in Statesboro, and that's going to lead to some fantastic opportunities. And if I can just announce it right here, so on Friday of last week, we received our letter of intent that as soon as our soccer stadium's being done, we've got letters of intent from 8 Premier League teams in the Premier League in England who will play some preseason friendlies here with us at that side. Just the names are mind-blowing. The La Liga teams who want to be a part of that. We've worked hard to develop those connections. A lot of those were forming through some of the contacts in baseball. But quite frankly, I'm so honored that it's not just Statesboro and Savannah and South Georgia and the Low Country who are paying attention to us, but we've gotten the attention of those teams that are in Europe who want to be showcased, and they want to help us grow our piece too. So, when Man City is playing in Statesboro here after the stadium, you can say the news was heard first, right here.
Nice. And I'm going to give a plug out to those 3 young gentlemen you're talking about. We have Stephen O'Heron out of the Savannah Arts Academy.
Yes.
We have Grant Hampton out of Islands High School, or who I had in my 9th grade health class.
And well done. That's the most important relationship to know.
And Tristan Deloach out of Benedictine. So now all 3 of them still have college eligibility?
All 3 of them. And they have signed academy pro contracts. So they're pro players, but when you do that from your own academy, you do it in a manner that doesn't cause them to lose eligibility. And that's a great system that soccer has put in place. And quite frankly, it comes from that European model that Chad was just speaking to.
Darren, you mentioned the stadium you guys have broken ground on and getting ready in the stages to build. Walk us through the importance of that stadium for you guys and also for the Georgia Southern community as well. I've heard, are the programs at Georgia Southern, is that going to be a shared space with you guys and your relationship with Georgia Southern? How important has that been?
It's super important. One of the things that I did learn from the Olympics that I got to make sure nobody else ever does is we had a terrible legacy during my run in the Olympics of having structures that sort of stood the test of time. And we don't build enough stadiums that are used year round. They have to live and breathe. College football is awesome. And listen, Paulson Stadium at Southern is one of my favorite places to go on Saturdays, but you can only play 6 games a year. Well, universities can do that, but the rest of the planet can't. So we have to build stadiums that are used year round. They have to be places of business and people that come to. There has to be retail and office space that are there. Georgia Southern men's and women's soccer will move their programs into here. In the fall, they'll play there. We will play in the spring and summer and then use it year round for youth soccer activities. We're going to use our locations in Savannah and in South Carolina too, because you can't have enough soccer. But here's a little truism for folks that sort of think about the professional sports world, and this is going to be true for any sports. Most pro teams lose money. And I'll just be very open. When you see it and you say, man, how did the Lakers afford to pay so-and-so? How did the Braves pay that guy that much money? Just fill in the blank. How did the Yankees afford to play A-Rod, for example? The reality is they really don't. But stadiums don't lose money. And so the big trend has been for those owner groups to make sure they're part of the stadiums. And here's what really makes the stadium successful is stadium-anchored developments, that live, work, eat, play idea. That if our listeners have been to Battery Atlanta and where the Braves have played, the Braves don't move out of downtown Atlanta because they didn't like their location. The parking didn't get any better, but the Braves didn't own Turner Field. Not only now do the Braves not own Turner Field, they own the hotel, they own the restaurants, they own all the other retail spaces that are there. And so when the Braves aren't playing, the Braves are still open for business. Same thing happened in Wrigley. We see this going on and on and on around the country. And so that model, we just took it, same model, built it for standards, scaled it down to Statesboro. We're not those cities. But as I said at the outset, just because you're in a smaller place doesn't mean you're less sophisticated. People want experience. And that live, work, eat, play experience, sport. We're located directly across the street from Georgia Southern, as you guys know. When completed, this area will feel like it's very much a part of campus. It will architecturally look that way. They'll be connected in all the right kinds of ways. It'll change the way people think about South Georgia. Now that Georgia Southern also has a presence in Savannah, how the people see the university says a lot about how they'll see Savannah and Statesboro. And so that vision has been in play for 5-6 years. Super fun to see it coming out of the ground. And I appreciate the chance to talk about it.
Now, from my standpoint, being an outsider, living here in Savannah, making that 60-mile drive to Statesboro, which I have no problem doing, I've done it a lot of times.
Yeah.
Do you get any funding from Statesboro or from Bullitt County to help you with this big major project? Like you said, we were talking before we started, you're changing lights, you're changing streets. Are they helping you with this?
So great question. There has been no public dollars a piece of this, but there's been massive public help and massive public support, and those are very different. The dollars have all been private. I can tell you that what was huge, not just for supporting and cheerleading from it, but our county commissioners in the city of Statesboro and the Board of Education created a tax allocation district. Tax allocation districts don't raise taxes. They don't lower taxes. It just draws a line around a particular area. In our case, it's about 300 acres. All of those acres are land that we control. They're all in the city limits. And it lets you bond against future tax revenues to build public infrastructure. So what we did was build 2 roads. We took a 2-lane one and made it 5 lanes. We built a new road called Tormenta Way, incidentally, where the stadium will sit. Added traffic lights, water, sewage. It is now site ready. That piece ends up here in July. Obviously, COVID slowed some construction down, and those heavy rains we had in the winter did too. But we're slowly now moving into the part where our next phase is coming about. So our public support has been massive in terms of this. But I'm really honored to tell you that the funding has all stayed private.
Nice.
Darren, you talk about the experience. That's really what it is. The experience. I know, the times you play down here. We had terrible weather. It was very unfortunate.
We had awful weather. We sure did. And yet we pulled off because of that great turf at Calvary.
But the great game day excitement that you guys had created, the atmosphere felt so different. It felt very professional. And really, it looked the part. It sounded the part. The players were like that. It was such an exciting environment to play in. Tell me, give the listeners a little bit of what the game day experience is like, coming to a Tormenta, USL game. What's that like for them coming up, during the game, things are going on, seating, things of that nature, especially for the future stadium?
Well, I think first and foremost, one of the things about sport that makes it so fun is to get close. And we built that stadium intimate. And, where we currently play at Georgia Southern, you get really, really close to the action. If you're a soccer guy like yourself, Coach, you know how skilled these athletes are. But when you get this close, you don't really have to understand the rules. And since nobody understands offsides, including the officials, that's going to work out just fine. But you see how fast this thing is and how athletic it is. It is unbelievable. And if you've never stood on the sidelines of an American football game to just see how big and fast it is, you get that close to pro soccer, the skill level is extraordinary. And what that does is it takes us into a whole different level of that memory and experience. And before you know it, our guys are in the community. You get to know them in ways that are not just in television and the print. And here we go. Now we've got a fan base, and that fan base grows. Soccer has this wonderful grassroots feel where supporters want to feel like they want to get close to them. They know what the players are. We tailgate. I think that, and, the stadium that we're building is only 5,300. There's not a bad seat in the house. It's super close. I mean, 5,300 is, would be, it's an okay game for a high school football game. But for pro soccer, it's our perfect fit. It allows us to get the big Atlanta United clubs down and play friendlies. It lets us do big college tournaments. It lets us bring in the right size for those Premier League teams. And most importantly, it's the right size that helps us grow and flourish and make the USL what we think will be the top third, second division teams in the country.
And you're listening and you're watching the Karl DeMasi Sports Report, the Coach and AD Wednesday Night Live update version. We're talking to the, and of course, presented by Specialty Sports and presented on the Coach's Corner Sports Network. We're talking to the owner of the Tormenta Football Club, Georgia Southern Eagle himself, Darren Van Tassel. And I'm just so impressed with the whole organization. I'm going to give you my experience. I got tickets to go to MSL, to the Atlanta United. I said, this is not going to be, it's just going to be a soccer game. I'm telling you, the atmosphere was just like going to a big-time SEC football game. There were 74,000 fans there. They got bands playing in the corner. They got people tailgating. And then you get in the game, and I had a bird's-eye view. I enjoyed it from up there. But these fans didn't sit down. They stayed on their feet the whole time. And like you said, the speed was phenomenal. And I'm telling you right now, I can't wait to watch a Tormenta Football Club game because I watched that game. I got hooked. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, they do a great job. And Atlanta United is a special story, isn't it? But it really speaks to where the fan base could be. Here's a great stat for us. 2 years ago, the MLS passed the NBA in attendance.
Wow. It's not surprising.
The NBA doing just fine in terms of attendance. Atlanta United has a lot to do with that. The day the World Cup was played in Russia, the last World Cup, there were 72,000 people at the final. 3 hours later, there were 73,000 people at Atlanta United game for a regular season match. Now, listen, they've got some special circumstances that are going on, but it's not just unique to Atlanta.
It's all over the world.
And so that's what you're watching. And, quite frankly, we've missed that a lot in the U.S. We're catching up with it now. We're not missing it much anymore. And it's the first sport I can think about in our country. Karl, and you'll think about this. I was a baseball guy. I learned baseball from my dad, who handed it down from his dad.
Right.
Soccer was handed up to me by my son. Soccer's been handed up to you by your kids, Karl. So when you have something that's moving this direction, that is marketing gold.
Oh, yeah.
It rarely happens. It is, and it's such an important thing on the business side to do it. Because at some point, those folks grow up, and then it starts falling down. It won't always be handed up, in other words. We're only on a couple generations in terms of that. And so that's the other reason why it was important for soccer to be part of the landscape in terms of what we're growing here.
Hey, Darren, last question from me. I love your guys' social. I'm a big social media guy.
Good.
And so I
spent
love
some time on that.
Yeah, I spent some time on your TikTok and everything else. So walk me through, Tormento's social media, how important that is, and how the fan base really connects with you guys. Can you give me data of what that looks like for you guys on social media?
So here's where it starts. There are 54 people that work for Tormenta FC. That's a big number. There are over 20 who work in the front office. So part of having a professional experience for fans, meaning we've got to make sure our atmosphere at work is a professional experience. And how do people engage with us? So it involves a lot of talented people. They didn't need to know anything about soccer, but they needed to know how to connect. Soccer piece can learn later. The sport can translate into anything else. So that was really important for us. When the folks started creating TikTok, this is the way I would say it, Chad. I want our mission statement is pro start here, whether they're soccer players, young coaches, academy players, or people in the front office. And I love that from a laboratory standpoint. My background's in teaching too. So when the interns who were working in marketing came to me and said, hey, Darren, we're going to start a TikTok thing. I said, that is awesome. I had no idea what it was. Show me what it is. Now I get it. Every time I get on TikTok, it's an hour that I'll never get back in life. But I was entertained. I was enjoyed. I feel like I need to take a shower, but I know it's fun. And that's really all that it's meant to be. And so our effort is to show people what we're doing is fun. We have got to win championships. That is mission statement number one. But in order to win championship, it's got to be fun. It's got to be memory making, because that's how we do it. And we have some people that are full-time doing it. So whether it's, social media, whether it's, the press releases that we're doing, we've got to keep up and going. And listen, the TV stations in Savannah do a great job of covering us. They get that we're part of an important part of our listening audience here. And whether it's TikTok, which can go global, that's an important part too.
And I got one more question for you, and I'm going to go from the playing side. Okay, let's give out a big shout out to your guys that are running these programs from the time these kids are 2-3 years old to all the way up to where you get to your big time teams. Give them the shout out, and if people want to come and see what it's all like, let's give that a plug too.
Well, listen, we can't have enough fans, and 2020's got this massive asterisk next to it, right? We're going to have every stadium in America is going to have to deal with how we deal with social distancing. So all of our games are on ESPN. I'm super proud of that. That's the case. And while we may only be able to put, 700 instead of 3,000 or 4,000 in the stadium this summer, that too will pass. The world's not coming to an end. Live sports still matters. Concerts are still going to matter. We've got to be safe and healthy during this time. We have a very contagious disease that is really hurting a lot of people, especially older people. And I like older people that are in my life, so it behooves all of us to stay smart about it. And this season, we're going to be able to have, our academy people that are watching, getting them in the stands. We've got some wonderful names of people to watch, whether it's Marco Micheletto, whether it's Neil Vinyals, whether it's the 3 academy players you mentioned, and Tristan Grant and Steven. They're going to have a chance to play, to create memories, and we're going to be here for them. And when you pull it up on ESPN, that Tormenta mark looks even all the more famous. And as I said at the beginning, just because we live in a smaller market, Savannah and Statesboro, doesn't mean we're any less sophisticated or want to do big, big things. Championship starts here. We're going to bring one to Statesboro this summer, because that is absolutely our plan to do so.
Well, Darren, that's what you guys have done. Y'all put a first-class product on the field from top to bottom. I look through. You got Brad Nine running your youth program, and he's just a phenomenal human being first and foremost. And he connects with everybody, and so you have all the right pieces in place to be successful. And one, like you said, it doesn't matter if you're in Statesboro, Georgia, or wherever else. The fact that you guys have the passion for it, you're building the stadium, you're connecting with the community. You got a building infrastructure with Georgia Southern. I could imagine if I was a college kid, I wish back then, if I was close to you guys, how great that would have been. I've been living at your facility, begging for an internship. Your connection with Georgia Southern and how you can help them. It's just got to be a great win for everybody in the Statesboro community.
Well, thank you. I don't say no to too many people that want to come and give us a great internship experience. We'll do it. We have lots of ways to do it. We have, there's a university in London who sends us 2 folks a year. That university's at Wembley Stadium, for example.
Nice.
People that are getting soccer-specific master's degree, and they're coming cutting their teeth here. We'll put you to work. It's great experience. You know, my wife's a co-owner. Her name's Nitra, and we have something here at Tormenta we call the Nitra rule. And that rule is the polite way to say it: no jerks. They don't get to come be a part of what we're doing. It's too important. It's too important. And whether it's coaches in our academy, Brad is a great example. Thanks for bringing him up. We got to have special people that are involved in terms of this, because we've got to grow people. And that doesn't mean people aren't worthy of second, third, and fourth chances. 12-year-olds are going to behave like 12-year-olds sometimes. And sometimes so are pro players. But there's a standard to meet. There's an expectation that we will always have. And our mission from day one is for this relationship to be very transformative, not transactional. That can't just be a postcard. We've got to live it. So thanks again for letting me come on and talk about it.
All right. And if you want to go find out more about the South Georgia Tormenta Football Club or Tormenta Football Club, just go to tormentafc.com and you can get all the information you want. Find out about the youth programs, find out about the professional programs. And once again, Darren, thanks for coming on. And once again, I got your name right this time. You got my name right tonight.
Very good, guys. It's an honor to be here. And thanks for what you're doing to help grow sports in our area. It's at a really important time. I love that the show started during this time period. And consider me a watcher. Thanks a bunch.
Well, I look forward to getting out there.
Doors open. Go ahead, Chad.
I look forward to getting out there to Statesboro and watching you guys open tonight, man. We love to be out there with you guys.
July 18th. Consider the tickets already sent.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much.
Anytime you want to come on, Darren, just let us know.
Thanks, fellas. I appreciate that.
Have a good night.
Okay.
Thanks, Darren. Appreciate you, man.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. And you know what? When you told me when we were talking on the phone, hey, it's a baseball guy, I said, nah, I can't be a baseball guy. And reading his biography was unbelievable. But you know what? He has the passion to get a team, professional team in the area, but he also has a passion for all the kids that want to be part of soccer. And you know what? It is the most participated sport in the world. It's the easiest sport to go play. You don't need special equipment. You just need a ball and a pair of shorts and a T-shirt, and you can go play anywhere.
Well, the great thing I love about Darren is, one, his demeanor and creating that culture in Statesboro. A lot of people, when they first like soccer, a professional soccer team in Statesboro, why not Savannah? Why not here or there? But listen, he's just got great vision. If you look through his bio, look at everything he's been a part of. There's never been a part of something that he's not succeeded in. He'll tell you, yeah, there's been bumps in the road, but man, he just has that knack, and he connects with people. He reminds me very much of Jesse, from the Savannah Bananas. They are two different sports, but really they are customer service based. And when Tormenta played here and the weather was terrible, but the atmosphere they created, the style they played, the way their players played, their attitudes, their effort, everything was first class. The way they treat everybody was first class. And when you have a guy like that that's in charge of a program, and he's putting his money where his mouth is.
Oh, yeah.
He's the stadium and his connection with Georgia Southern, and he told you, hey, this is all private money and dollars. That means people don't give to things they don't believe in. And that's what I appreciate so much about Darren. What they're doing is, man, it's grassroots. It's from the bottom up. And he's earned and built everything, all the success they've done. And they've done it in Statesboro. And they're just smart about he's just a smart business guy. He's a big picture guy, flies that 30,000 feet, sees it, and brings the right people in play. And so, man, it's exciting. And, if the COVID thing hadn't hit, and like I said, it's going to pass. They're going to get back to normalcy and playing. And that stadium is going to be awesome. And you got a great culture in Georgia. You're in a college town. I mean, you're in a college town that is a year-round place. And so it's an exciting time for those guys.
Well, I can't wait till see it happen July 18th. First professional team to play here in Georgia. It's going to be a lot of fun. Once again, we got to thank Darren Van Tassel from Tormenta. He also is Georgia Southern proud. He grew up in Statesboro, didn't he?
Yeah.
And he played baseball at Statesboro High School, then goes over to Georgia Southern, comes back does this. It's just a great story. So once again, Tormenta Football Club. If you want to check it out, go to TormentaFC.com, Football Club. Okay, Saturday show. We got a big one. Hey, do you know who Mark Edis is?
Who?
Mark Edis?
No, but you're going to tell everybody.
It's the Shark. You're talking about the Savannah.
No one knows him by Mark Enos. If you say the Shark, then everybody knows who the Shark is. You know what I'm saying? Like, who's Mark Enos? I've never called him Mark. You know, you see a guy, you're like, hey, that's a Shark. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, that's how I know him. I was like, who's that guy? I know who the Shark is.
Well, the Shark will be on to kick off the show on Saturday morning. Then we're going to bring on a kid that is unbelievable. And, I mean, he's getting looks left and right. He's got major college office, and he's only a junior. So I thought it would be a great way, and you came up with the idea too. Let's bring on Holden Gerner from BC, Benedictine Military School, up-and-coming junior quarterback. Hey, with all the looks and offers this kid is getting, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, you know, what I'm really interested to talk to Holden about is, one, you know, what the recruiting process has been like during COVID. You know, and I want him to talk to kids about how important film is, you know, the training he's done, all those other things that you want student athletes to know about, and him to share what's been going on. I know he works with a guy in Jacksonville called Denny Thompson, who's a great quarterback guy up there as well. And he's got a great quarterback guy at BC as well. So he's getting great coaching on both sides. And just talking to them about the process. And then that's what a lot of kids want to know and parents want to know is, like, hey, walk us through the process of what this looks like. Now, don't get me wrong. He's physically gifted as well. I mean, he's 6'3", something. He's got
200 pounds. He's got the dimensions.
Yeah, he can throw a football through a brick wall. I mean, those are just intangibles that you either have or you don't have. And then when you start mixing it all together, this is what happens, guys. You know, you get offers from Michigan and Tennessee and Auburn and in, you know, Florida State and stuff like that. So
Georgia.
Yeah, Georgia. You know, I've talked to Coach Britt last week, and he was just talking about how, you know, how humble Gerner was, how hard he's been working, the time he's been putting in the weight room in all season during COVID. He's been the first one to do stuff. And so I'm just excited to talk to him about what the process has been like, you know, through the spring.
And we're going to wrap it up. We're going to bring on one of the local coaches. They had an unbelievable run last year. They got into the playoffs, and they happened to lose to one of their arch rivals, okay? Those little three teams that love playing each other, Calvary, Country Day, Christian. We're going to talk to not the new head coach. He's the new athletic director. He's the old head coach, Jim Collis, out of Country Day. Talk about what's going on over there at Hornets Land. I heard they had 120 athletes, all sports, there on the first day working out, Chad. I think they like their sports over there at Country Day. Yeah.
You know, they've Coach Collis come in, and they've kind of, you know, reshaped the athletic department as well. You've had, you know, brought in a great basketball coach from Pace, and he's done a dynamic job in his first year, and they have a lot of buy-in, you know, in athletics now, and they got a lot of momentum. So it's be great to talk to him about, hey, what's the continued vision, one, what they're doing athletically at Country Day and what that looks like. And it's always great to get coaches on, because everybody's got a little bit different take on how things should be and what, you know, how they're presenting stuff. And so it'd be great to have them on. They've had a lot of success in his first year. I want to ask them what that transition has been like from Atlanta to Savannah. It's two different worlds.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and how he's felt about that transition, and what he sees for the future of Hornet athletics. All
right. So we'll be back here in Thursday, Friday, on Saturday morning. It's the Coach and AD from the Sound Garden at Coach's Corner. Once again, and it's all part of the Coach's Corner Sports Network. We got to thank our presenter again tonight, Specialty Sports. We got to thank Dan Van Tassel from Tormenta Football Club. I hope the last 2 weeks, last couple of days have been great for you. I hope the next couple of days is even better. We'll be back Saturday morning, Chad.
Yeah, man, we're back at it. We've had a great start to the week here at Calvary. You know, coaches have been great. Student athletes been great. We've had everybody in from, you know, God, we had two groups of cheerleaders today, two groups of cheer. Volleyball, cross country was in today as well. And so basketball has been in. I got girls basketball tonight in doing conditioning, and checking them in and answering questionnaires and giving temperature checks. And, but everybody's happy to be back and everybody's so grateful for it. That's the biggest thing I've seen this week with our student athletes, and our coaches are super excited, but they've all just been grateful to be back. And no one's complaining about how hot it is. No one's complaining about the time or what they got to do or wearing masks or whatever. They're all just grateful and excited to be back and playing sports like all of us are.
That's well, we're still waiting over here in Chatham County. Hopefully we'll start next week. Once again,
you're coming, though. You're coming.
We're coming. You're watching the Karl DeMasi Sports Report. It's the Coach and AD Wednesday Night Live right here on the Coach's Corner Sports Network, presented by Specialty Sports. I'll talk to you the next couple of days. We'll be back at it again on Saturday. Once again, maybe the best week you're ever having right now.
Hey, if people don't know, he's the new head basketball coach at Allen's High School. So back over, taking the seat. All right, so people don't know, congratulations again, Karl. It'll be great to see you back on the sideline, man, just from the impact you have on student-athletes' lives. So, hey, congratulations on that, and look forward to seeing you on the sidelines again. I think we actually play you maybe once or twice this year. So.
Yes, we will. We'll be going at it. Yes, it's going to be fun to be back on the sidelines. I still got softball first. I can't forget about my softball girls. Then I'll go over to the basketball court. And don't forget, I also got the prepsportsreport.com. Hey, we still want to honor the seniors. If you have a senior, you want to honor them, go to prepsportsreport.com, the website. Check out the senior spotlights. I'll keep on doing it all summer long until we start a new school year. So once again, check out the Prep Sports Report. Hey, thanks for that plug. Back on the basketball court. We'll talk to you Saturday morning, 9 o'clock from the Sound Garden at Coach's Corner.
Sounds good.